Since Erling Haaland walked through the door at Manchester City's Etihad Stadium last summer, he's completely torn up the rulebook on acceptable best practices for new recruits in the Premier League. Yes, it's safe to say that the Norwegian has completely shattered Pep Guardiola's wildest expectations and looks in a good position to break every Premier League scoring record right now. Some have suggested he does possess a weakness or two though, which we will be discussing today. First up, let's take a look at what he's done so far. Erling Haaland burst onto the scene back in the 2019-2020 season with the Red Bull Salzburg, scoring a hugely impressive 28 goals in 22 games, alongside Japan forward Takumi Minamino. Signed from Molde in his native Norway the previous season, there were high hopes for the 6'4" Haaland, but nobody could have foreseen just what he could do in Austria. With a relatively modest 20 goals in 50 games whilst at Molde, compared to his goal-scoring exploits these days, it would have taken a brave man to predict what would happen over the past few years. Of course, scoring that many goals for Salzburg means he wasn't long for the Austrian Bundesliga, and Borussia Dortmund soon came calling, where he would team up with another huge prospect in the form of Jude Bellingham. And the goal rush continued. In his 2.5 seasons with Dortmund, the big man scored an incredible 86 goals in 89 games, just shy of a goal a game. However, his goals only resulted in a solitary DFB Pokal title, meaning he would again soon be on the move. Last summer, Manchester City's Emirati owners flexed their financial might, bringing Haaland to the Etihad Stadium in yet another multi-million-pound deal, proving once again that financial fair play doesn't particularly apply to the citizens. In his debut season, Haaland has made a mockery of those who suggested he would struggle with a step up in quality from the Bundesliga, and currently has a record of 52 goals in all competitions, with a couple more games to play. So what is it that makes him so good? Simply put, Erling Haaland is a freak of nature. Built like an Olympic swimmer, he is the epitome of what you think of when someone utters the word Viking, which just so happens to be the same group of people he descended from. With pace to burn and strength for days, Haaland is the dream striker. It is almost impossible to muscle him off the ball and even more difficult to stop him when he's in full flight. In days gone by, most strikers relied on being quicker than their centre-back opponents, which often meant they were giving up a size advantage. Think Michael Owen. Haaland not only has the size, but he's also right up there with Owen when it comes to pace as well. Oh, and did I mention he just so happens to be one of the deadliest finishers in Europe? At 22 years old, he's already scored 207 career goals. A lot of top strikers don't score that many over their entire careers. For context, another modern Premier League great, Roberto Firmino, has just drawn the curtain on his career with Liverpool. At 31 years old, Firmino has just 167 career goals to his name, but is widely considered to be one of Liverpool's best strikers of the Premier League era. This should tell you all you need to know about just how lethal Erling Haaland has been so far over the course of his short career. What's all this talk of weaknesses then? I mean, we might be clutching at straws by suggesting that Haaland has any weaknesses at all, and it may simply be that fans of rival clubs are putting these claims out into the ether in hopes of them becoming a reality. However, when we look at the sheer size of the man and the explosive pace he possesses, there is a school of thought which suggests that this could eventually catch up with him. Haaland isn't your typical striker. His goal returns so far has proven that, but that's not what we mean. Usually, strikers who rely on their size like he does aren't quite as mobile as their smaller counterparts. This isn't the case for the Norway striker, who can beat even the quickest defenders over 10 or 20 yards. It's a shame he plays on the same team as Kyle Walker, as it would be interesting to see who would win in a foot race between the pair over a short distance. We'd probably still plump for the England right-back in that situation, given the much talked about Mbappe face-off during the World Cup. Strikers who rely on pace can often become unstuck later in their careers, as their bodies begin to break down. We've seen this time and time again over the years, and it would go back to the Michael Owen example we used earlier as evidence. Owen's Liverpool teammate Robbie Fowler, who terrorised defences in his early years due to his lightning pace, also struggled with injuries later in his career. Closer to home for Haaland's size-wise, Andy Carroll struggled with injury over the course of his career, and was never blessed with anything like the amount of pace Haaland has. So far, the big man's injury record has shown that he isn't superhuman, and his final season with Dortmund, he missed around 3 months through injury. Bigger athletes often suffer from more injuries. That's just how it seems to be. Those of you who follow the NBA will know about the New Orleans Pelicans' 130-kilogram power forward Zion Williamson, who is seemingly forever injured. Does he have any other weaknesses then? Well, barring the ifs, buts and maybes around injuries, some of the game's personalities have actually claimed that despite 52 goals in his first season in England, Haaland still isn't the complete striker. I mean, you just can't please everyone, right? Yes, Haaland benefits from Pep Guardiola and Sheikh Mansour's real-life version of the highly popular Football Manager game, where he has the world's best players around him in every position, but he still has to do the hard work of putting the ball in the back of the net. The vast majority of Haaland's strikes are in and around the box, and are of a predatory nature, which has led to some criticisms that he doesn't link the play. I mean, he doesn't really need to though, does he? You won't see City's number 9 dropping deep into the midfield to help build attacks, but this is almost certainly down to tactics. You also won't see him rifling in a 30-yard rocket like we all know someone like Harry Kane has in his locker. The fact that City are so dominant and keep hold of the ball so well means that Haaland can stay on the shoulder of the last man and be a continual headache for defenders. This also means that the teams are worried about pushing up, as you only need to give Kevin De Bruyne one chance of putting the ball over the top for Haaland and you're a goal down. Whatever tactical approach teams take against this City side, and Haaland in particular, simply hasn't worked so far. However, that's not to say it won't. Football evolves, and teams and managers eventually figure out ways to nullify or at least limit the damage particular players and systems can cause. The key for teams in and around the title picture, such as Arsenal, Liverpool, and possibly even Newcastle next season, is to figure out a way to manage Haaland and City. Is that it then? Well, in broad terms, yes. However, when compared with arguably the best Premier League striker of the modern era, Harry Kane, there is a case to be made that Haaland may rely on that trusty left a little too much. Kane is a fantastic two-footed player and represents a danger anywhere around the box, on either side. He's also great in the air, as is the Norwegian. 23 of Haaland's 36 league goals this season have come with his more natural left foot, with just 6 coming from his right. Of course, the sheer number of goals he is scoring renders this point absolutely obsolete. But if we're being pedantic, then he could possibly work on this during the upcoming pre-season. I mean, could you imagine what we would be dealing with if his right foot was as good as Kane's left? All the greatest strikers in Premier League history have been solid with both feet. Erling Haaland could just be about to shatter that long-held belief. So, what does the future hold for Haaland? Well, he has already been crowned a Premier League champion and could finish the current season as the main striker in a treble-winning side. Of course, we already know that he's going to finish his career with a ton of medals, but what about on a personal level? If he stays in the Premier League, Haaland will almost certainly break Alan Shearer's long-standing record of 260 Premier League goals. By the time he reaches that point, the record may well have already been broken by Harry Kane. Some have suggested that Erling Haaland's lad is destined for a La Liga and Bernabeu, and his current City deal is thought to include a £150 million buyout clause, which can be activated at the end of his second season next summer. Plenty of City's Premier League rivals will be desperate to see Real exercise this option. In broader terms, Haaland will probably have goal-scoring records set by the incomparable Lionel Messi and his longtime rival Cristiano Ronaldo in his sights. Messi currently has 805 goals to his name, while Ronaldo is slightly further ahead on 836, but now plays in a pub league. For those who like to see the game played with a certain amount of sportsmanship and humility, the sooner Haaland can break Ronaldo's record, the better. The thing that makes Lionel Messi the greatest player of all time in many people's eyes is the fact that he's won the World Cup. Sadly for Haaland, this is unrealistic, so he'll probably have to settle for shattering goal records for the next decade, something he will almost certainly achieve. Where does Haaland rank in the world's best for you right now? Let us know in the comments below. Oh, and don't forget to like and share, whilst also subscribing so you don't miss out on our great content.